That's right. And you are listening to the Way In. I wanted to remind you to live and let love. Don't forget the only way to start at the top is if you're digging a hole. Always look around for something great and praise it and be grateful. We'll be back next week, same time, same place, on these same blazing stations with another blazing edition of The Wayne Hall Show. Glad to have you. Love you, everyone. And tell you what, continue to listen, support, share, and encourage. And let's build this Fit 96.7 audience, all right? Let's build this Fresh FM radio audience around London, audience around the world. Fresh FM radio, London. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Wayne Hall, and nice, and we are make our way out, okay? And we're going to do that with Roy Ren. You take it easy. Until next time, same place. You take care.
When I mind say, I don't mind them at all. Some people got something to say, and some are saying nothing at all.
The station with the best music. Best music.
I love the music.
Best music.
FM 96.7.
They say wall of ice and bush of the teeth now. Every day
FM 96.7. Your life, your music.
But me know the trick. Take a coin and pick a set of nice.
Listen to the Wayne Hall Show, where information meets music, from 4 p.m. until 6 p.m. every Wednesday and Thursday on Fit FM 96.7 and fitfmja.com. Broadcasting from Stuart Castle, Duncan's, Trelawney, Jamaica. That's right. Fit FM 96.7, Trelawney's Radio. Your life, your music.
Wednesdays at 6 p.m. on Fit FM 96.7 and online at fitfmja.com brings you healing moments and destigmatize your mental and holistic wellness health features. Join Dr. Asha Mwendo, your holistic wellness practitioner, every first and third Wednesday, and psychiatrist Dr. Elizabeth Crossman every second and fourth Wednesday, as they dispel the stigma on mental health and help us to heal holistically our mind, body, and spirit. Healing moments and destigmatize Wednesdays at 6 p.m. on Fit FM 96.7. Your life, your music.
You're listening to Healing Moments on Fit FM 96.7. Your life, your music. And you know already the drill. I wanted to participate in our conversation, so you can hit 9144 or 8. As usual, Healing Moment Girls. My guest this evening will be Dr. Jeremy Thomas, and we'll be talking prostate health. But before we do all of that, you're going to get a sip, get a friend, get your sip, get your pen, tell a friend, and listen to this bit of music until we come right back.
I do it on Christian. Don't you God, Satan not this if you know. Now all them around me, God put you all around me. Satan, me know you can't stop me. Now all them around me, God put you all around me. Satan, me know you can't stop me. Him can't go around me wall, no. Him can't go above me wall, no. Him can't go under the wall. No, sad nothing him can do me at all. So when me lift up me right hand up there, when me lift up me left hand, man I shout praises to God. All around the world, man, different land. You understand? Now all them around me, God put you all around me. Satan, me know you can't stop me.
Welcome back. Yes, the Lord put a wall around us and Satan can't touch we, you know. That's how it is. So how have you been, my people? I know we're all looking out for the hurricane going over into our loved ones in Florida. So many Jamaicans have relatives in that state. I too have daughter, sister, and all of that jazz going on there too. So we are keeping our family, our friends, and our loved ones in prayers as the hurricane heads towards them. I in jokingly said to the Lord, give them a Jamaica move, no? It make it does, not do them so bad, does, because we have been getting some blessings in Jamaica from hurricanes over the last couple of years. So I said, maybe they could pull a Jamaica move on them and let that hurricane don't impact them so greatly, because we know that some of them have not recovered yet from the previous one before. And so therefore we have to keep them in prayers. But it's a reminder to us that we should pray always, not only in time of trouble. And as I continue my Let's Talk, now I have to go back again to our government here in Jamaica, or NWA, or whoever is responsible for the roads. The road to Clarkstown right now, if you leave Falmouth, you go through Danieltown, the entire road from Danieltown through Danieltown coming up to Clarkstown is in a deplorable condition. It's getting worse. One from Duncan's, that, I don't know if it get worse. It's an obstacle course. If for not the faint of heart. And to be honest, I was hoping that by now I would have seen some form of work start on those roads to Clarkstown. It's really, really, really bad. And it's one of our main thoroughfares connecting us right now. Maybe from Jackstown to Clarkstown, a little piece of there so is good. But coming from Kinloss, coming from Danieltown, coming from Duncan's, Clarkstown road them really look bad at all. As it comes, it gets worse, Sarah, if there's any such word. So please, we help for the roads in Clarkstown. That's my little bit of Let's Talk with you. Now, in my wellness tip, we know we are in breast cancer month. One day I will tell you my story, or more of my story, as we go along. But I just want us to be focused, become aware that breast cancer is among us. And so many of our women and a few of our men are also struggling from breast cancer. And you have breast cancer, and then it goes into other parts of the body. I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible. And, you are impacted. And so therefore, one of the greatest things you always hear, they always like to watch your diet and, watch what you eat, and you must exercise and all of that. But what I want us to focus a little bit on this evening as we do our wellness tip is stress. Stress is a killer in so many ways. Stress is really, really hard on your body. And from time to time, hear people tell you to manage your stress, do whatever you can to cope and to go through. But I'm going to say to us, you see, with cancer, fretting, stressing will not help you one bit. It will only do you more harm. So I know it's natural. I know it's normal. As soon as you hear that C word, and as soon as you hear that it might be cancerous, I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible, and you start to get your body tighten up. No, it's natural, it's normal. But I'm going to say to you this evening, it not gonna help. Getting worried, getting stressed out, it not gonna help. So here are some of what you're gonna do that may help and will help. Is listen to the story, listen to what the doctors are telling you. Cry if you must to release that tension that builds up in the system. Find someone to talk with. Get all the details you can about your type of cancer. And after you have gotten all that detail, then now you're going to plan and restructure what you are doing. And so therefore, you have to, get yourself sorted or get your headspace. We're gonna play a little bit more for Arduino, and then we're gonna get ready. But remember now, if you are diagnosed with any form of cancer, but this month we're focusing on breast cancer, stress is not going to help you, right? So listen to a bit of music again, and then we will come back at you with more.
Oh, na 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 na, yeah. I do it on Christian. Satan, not this if you know. Now all the way around me, yeah. God put you all around me. Satan, me know you can't stop me. Now all the way around me, yeah. God put you all around me. Satan, me know you can't stop me. Him can't go around me wall, him can't go above me wall, him can't go under the wall. No sad nothing him can't do me at all. So when me lift up me right hand, no, when me lift up me left hand, man I shout praises to God. All around the world, on different lines. Me know you can't stop me. Now, all around me, yeah. God put you all around me. See it and me know me.
Evil deeds, me stand tall.
So welcome back. So my guest is on his way. He's running a bit late. So we'll continue to do some little chats until he gets here. So a number of times persons have been asking me, what does it mean when it says you have a triple negative breast cancer like I do, right? Because I don't know if there's any cancer that is normal, but mine is triple negative. So what does that mean for, well, it says 10 to 15% of women who have cancer, breast cancer, have triple negative breast cancer. That's the first thing. It's very common in women, funny enough, under the age of 40, but me not know where you're near them, so, but that's what I do have. And it's as more in the Black people community, have more people in the community has triple negative breast cancer. One of the things that makes it triple negative is that you do not have estrogen affecting this kind of cancer. Because normally when you have breast cancer, they tell you your estrogen level or something. Estrogen is not impacted by it as either receptors. So you don't have estrogen receptors, you don't have progesterone receptors, and HER2 receptors. We don't have those either. So when you have cancer that have those receptors, treatment becomes easier and you have more options in treatment. With the triple negative breast cancer, now the options in treatment is limited, extremely limited. Mostly chemo is the best and maybe the only option. other than going the natural way. I am using a multifaceted approach in my treatment, which has helped me in a lot of ways. But chemo is still exhausting on the body. So I did my chemo on Monday, and I consider myself doing extremely well for Monday because today I'm extremely tired, and you feel like you just want to lie down and sleep most of the time. And guess what I do when I feel tired and feel like I want to lie down and sleep? Can you guess? I lie down and sleep because you have to give the body sometimes what it needs in order for you to manage. I use my natural remedies, of course, but one of the things I do not do is throw out natural remedies like that over the air to, because people have a tendency to hear that you use this, so they go and try to, and sometimes it doesn't work like that. One of the evenings, I'm going to talk about possible natural treatments and remedies that we're going to use. Because going forward, I am going to be focusing a little bit on telling my story, how I do my own treatments, how I mix both the chemo with the other things that I use to take care of my body. Because guess what? It's your body and you have to take care of it. It might not be that you have cancer, but for now, my journey is with cancer, and I'm journeying with triple negative breast cancer. And then I had come down with the complication of having it in my liver and in my lungs. And so 6 months after doing surgery and feeling that everything was okay, here I go again, hearing that we have now found it in your liver and in your lungs. Didn't have it in there before I did surgery, but who knows what happened? The Lord knows best. So then I had to create a journey and how I'm going to do this. Thankfully now, where I'm on my journey, there's no more signs of any form of cancer cells in my liver. And for that, I am extremely thankful. I can tell you, if I could do cartwheel, I'd do some for you. That's how happy I am. It's no longer in my liver at all. The liver is completely clean and clear. And for me, that's great news. So as I continued on the journey now, I did a CT scan recently. And so I had 2 tumors in my lungs. And one of them started out, the bigger one. The first time I did the CT scan, it became smaller. Then when I did my last CT scan a couple of weeks ago, now we are not seeing cancer, that tumor at all. Right. And so for that, I am really, really excited again. Yeah. And so there is still a small one left there. They did not give me a measurement for this one this time. That means it kind of gets toops, down to toops. So I am working hard on this journey, hoping now that by the time I do the next CT scan, I will hear that, guess what? Now, find no cancer. So that's what I am working on. One of the things that have helped me is that I have maintained a positive mindset. I do not get overly stressed or worried. If I say from time to time I don't get a little depressed, I'll be lying. So sometimes I get depressed. My guess is almost here. And so sometimes I do get a little depressed. Sometimes I do get down like everybody else going through their challenges. However, I must say, normally I don't get too worried. Normally I don't get too stressed. And my guest is here, sitting beside me, getting himself sorted and comfortable. And I am glad he made it into studio, even though I had to tell him to pull over somewhere because I wanted him to be safe if we had to go it by phone. But thankfully, he made it. So as I'm going to wrap up a little bit talking about my journey with breast cancer now, I am still journeying with breast cancer, as I say to you. I still have a little ways to go, hopefully by January, and I do another CT scan. I'll hear that you can ring the bell. We always talk about ringing our bells. And so therefore, one of my main mantra is I do not allow myself to get too down. Feeling a little lonely sometimes, a little depressed, feeling like it's you alone. It's because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how many persons are in your circle, it's still you fighting this thing, right? It's still in your body. You have to be doing your last minute fight. And so therefore, I have been doing it. And guess what? I have so many friends praying for me, with me, over me, through me. But recently, I had a very bad experience that I had asked someone not to call back my phone. Reason: maybe the person don't realize the impact of their words. I don't know, but it didn't feel right. So the person called me and said to me, "How are you doing?" I said, "I'm holding on, going on." And when the person called, I was doing a little prayer and fasting. So I said, doing a little prayer and fasting. And she said, "I heard that the cancer is being managed well." I said, "Yes." "And I thought you would have died." I said, "What?" I said, "What do you mean?" Because I don't think I look that sick that I thought I was on the death row. And she said, "Mommy thinks you're not dead, One more thing you beat again, God no easy." And I felt uncomfortable. I said to her, "I'm going to hang up my phone because it is mine. And I'm going to ask you to go back, listen to what you have said. And if you didn't mean it to sound the way it is, I'm sorry. But I don't like the way you sound because it make me heal." And that's how how you said it felt to me. And I don't feel comfortable about the way I don't have you up in my heart because there's no space in my heart for you to have you up. However, do not call me back. My healing journey, and it is my right to protect myself from negativity. The person hung up, and then she sent me a voice note to say, "I really don't know what I said that offended you." I sent her back a voice note to say, "That's the whole point. You don't even know what you said that offended me. So exactly what you said is exactly what you're thinking. And I'm not comfortable with your thinking." I've not heard from her since, but I hope she hears me. I hope she looks into it. And if, to be honest, that's how she feels, I don't understand it, but I'm going to allow her to the right to her feelings. I thank God that He have decided to work with me on this journey, that I can use my journey to strengthen others, right? So anyway, my guest is here, patiently waiting now. And we will be talking prostate. And that is very important for our men, and believe it or not, for us as women too. And so most time you talk about the impact of health, prostate health, and we talk about the men, listen to me, it affects the entire family if the man prostate not working. Because one of our stress relief, is, right, as women. So we have Dr. Jeremy in house with us this evening, and he's going to tell you a little bit about himself, and we get right into the matter. Welcome, Doctor. How are you?
Thank you for having me, and my apologies for my arrival. But
Okay.
I'm happy to be here, better late than never.
Better, yes.
As I said, I'm Jeremy Thomas, a urologist, a surgeon in that field. And what urology is, it's a subspecialty in surgery that focuses on the genitourinary system. So just to break that down, so that's your kidneys, the tubes from the kidneys, the bladder, for men, the prostate, for both sexes, the pelvic floor, and also the male reproductive system. So the testes, the penis, and of course, as mentioned before, we should be talking about more of this evening, the prostate.
Okay.
So disorders involving all of those organs, and of course, heavily involving surgery.
All right. But doctor, we always like to get a little humanness into this thing before you talk about that. So tell me a little bit about Jeremy the man.
Okay, so Jeremy the man,
yes,
originated really from St. Catherine, the parish of St. Catherine. Ended up going to school in Kingston and then University Hospital. or university for his studies.
Yes.
A little bit in Canada for part of my subspecialization in urology, and back to the university. It's football amongst others.
Okay.
Exercising and so on. Love music. Love interacting and having a good time in general. And,
Yeah.
pretty laid back.
And for the ladies, are you taken?
No, I'm not taken.
Okay.
I'm taken. All right.
Okay, we'll keep it at that. We won't ask him seeing anyone.
right. I'm not married, you know?
Right. So he's not
yet.
married as yet.
Not yet.
And who knows, you know?
You never know.
And he's not bad looking at all, you know, ladies.
Thank you.
Handsome young man.
Thank
So
you.
where is your practice at this time?
Okay, so I'm based in Montego Bay. So in terms of the public system, I'm at Cornwall Regional Hospital. But in terms of private, I actually go across the length and breadth of Jamaica. So primarily in Montego Bay at a few practices. So there's Oneness Health Center, there is Bay West, there's hospital in Montego Bay, and I also go to South, a place called Dr. Reddy's and Royal, and then also in Kingston on alternate weekends. I'm at Dunwoody Medical.
Okay, you are quite busy. No wonder you're not married.
Well, that's no excuse according to my mother, you know?
I agree with your mom.
Yeah.
Right, so you're here where he's at. Well, I'm at Cornwall Regional, so when I saw him walking, I said, I know this guy's face.
Okay.
So because that's where I go for my treatment as well. And I know Reddy's in Westmoreland because I work there in Westmoreland as a public health inspector for a little bit.
Okay.
So, but anyway, we're going to get into the meat of the matter.
Sure.
So, Doc, tell us a little bit, for starters, prostate health. What do you mean when you say prostate health?
All right, so let's speak about what the prostate is. And right, so I would actually start off by saying, and this may sound a bit silly, but I'll go as basic as it is based on the number of patients that I see and where the conversation actually starts. So the prostate, every man has a prostate. It's an important part of the male reproductive system.
Yes.
Very important in terms of fertilization. The prostate is simply an organ that exists below the bladder. In Jamaica, we'd say it's about a lime-sized shaped gland.
Okay.
Several functions. So it produces about 30% of the fluid that's within semen. That's important for nourishment of the sperm.
Okay.
Right. It's also important in terms of continence, meaning your ability to control your urine. And it plays several other roles amongst creating or helping to create an active form of testosterone, which is extremely important for numerous functions throughout the body. So in terms of prostate health, that involves its optimum functioning. We look at diet, we're looking at exercise, and then we're looking at if you fall into certain categories in terms of risk factors for diseases related to the prostate. Then, you know, we talk about screening, which is getting yourself checked out in a timely manner to catch these illnesses or these conditions early, and so to treat them in a timely fashion. You know, the whole adage of saying a stitch in time saves 9.
Amen.
Right.
Amen. Amen. Okay, so the prostate is important. So
Very important.
That's the first thing. And because sometimes up to recently, Monday, someone was asking, then if the prostate going to give you a problem, we cannot take you out before time.
A very good question.
Yes.
And a very good comment, because I've had that question several times. So I would say no at this point in time.
Yes.
You know, as you're speaking about your journey with breast cancer, and I caught a bit of it, there are certain genetic abnormalities or conditions that predispose you to almost 100% chance of getting something like breast cancer. And so at a certain age, you know, you can actually ask for a mastectomy, bilateral mastectomy, almost prophylactically. Unfortunately, we're not there yet with the prostate. And that's because even in treating the prostate, as good as it is in terms of saving lives, there are still significant potential complications associated with the same. And it plays such an important and essential role for fertility that I don't know that it is justified in saying removing your prostate because you're at an increased risk for disease from the prostate.
Okay. All right. So I'm taking care of my prostate. How do I to start checking to see well, not me, men need to start checking
No
to see
worries.
what is going on in their prostate, or men, or
Right.
men.
Well, put it this way, your prostate is not too far from you now, because the closest males to you all have prostates,
Yes.
and I'm sure they're very interested in your health,
Yes.
and so by extension, their prostate. So
Yes.
you could call it your prostate. too.
Yes.
But what I would say is, in terms of taking care of your prostate, so prostate health body, really
Yes.
and truly. So we
Mhm.
talk about having a balanced diet. We
Mhm.
talk about cruciferous vegetables, the colorful vegetables. We
Yes.
talk about a wholesome diet, grains, nuts, avoiding some of the unhealthy foods, a lot of the fried foods, a lot of the unhealthy fats.
Mhm.
Coupled with that is exercise.
Mhm.
There's always a question about Aki, and I'd like to report that.
Oh, let's hear about that.
Yeah, Aki is a part of our national dish,
Mhm.
and I can happily say that, as far as I'm aware, it
Mhm.
is not associated with prostate disease or prostate cancer. So you
Thank
can
you.
continue to eat. But what I would say is that everything in moderation
Yes.
and exercise. Now I'll mention a few things that you may find a bit interesting.
Mhm.
If we go down the route of prostate cancer, one of the things that a lot of us will find interesting is that there was actually a study done in terms of looking at the likelihood of men getting prostate cancer. So I'm kind of overstepping where we will get to.
Yes.
But they actually look at the amount of times in terms of ejaculating.
Mhm.
And there's actually a robust study coming out of Harvard, Boston,
Okay.
that suggested that men who ejaculate 21 times per month, as opposed to those that ejaculate only 4 to 7 times per month in their 20s, 30s, and even 40s, there's actually anywhere between 20 to 30% risk reduction in them developing prostate. So that is always one that men like to hear. And sometimes
Yes.
they'll FaceTime their wives or their girlfriends and say, "Doc, tell her face to face for me." But of course, the woman will reply and say, "Well, you don't necessarily need me
Me.
to
Thank you.
ejaculate, because you may have to help yourself."
Mhm.
I'm hoping I'm not saying anything that's inappropriate.
No,
but
no,
you're
no.
clear, right?
Healing moments is good with that.
Right. So amongst what I say in terms of diet and exercise, there is that we look at things like at alcohol and smoking. Of course, you want to avoid those. They're not really strongly associated with diseases of the prostate, but do contribute negatively even to the management of diseases involving the prostate.
Yes.
So we advise against those. What I would say is that, unfortunately, the major risk factors for prostate cancer are non-modifiable. And so that's why we stress so much about screening. So in terms of when men should be examined, or you should start having your prostate check, we say at age 40.
Age 40.
Right, and in Jamaica and across the Caribbean. And we actually start our screening process at the youngest age across the world. And that's because we view ourselves, this is the Urology Society and medicine in general in Jamaica, we view ourselves as a high risk society. So we start at age 40, and it should be on a yearly basis. It's a simple blood test called the PSA test, which stands for prostatic specific antigen. Very fancy long name for it, the protein that's produced only by the prostate, but it can give us an indication as if there is anything wrong with the prostate. It's almost like a smoke screen detector. The alarm goes off, you go and check to see if there's fire, or where the source of the smoke is. It may or may not be fire.
Okay.
Right? Yeah.
Okay, a little sidetrack as you're talking came into my mind.
Sure.
We have our lifestyle now that is impacting our men. So they're wearing 3 and 4. What is going on?
Right.
And recently we heard that it may or may not be impacting their ability to reproduce. And of course, some of us are saying, thank God, because the way they are carrying them not supposed to be fathers. But put that aside.
Right.
How does the dressing and the type of clothing they wear impact the prostate health as well?
So an interesting question again. What I would say is that this is not so much the prostate, but another part of the male reproductive system, which should be your testes, your testicles, or the balls.
Right.
We actually believe that they exist outside of the body because they should be at a lower temperature than the rest of the body. So you definitely find that tight underwear or tight clothing, as it seems to be the style nowadays, actually we believe can negatively affect that. And the whole process of spermatogenesis, which is the production and healthy function of sperm, is actually affected by that, or we think is potentially a reason for poor functioning.
Okay.
Similarly with bleaching or anything that is used on the skin is your largest organ and it's absorbed into the body. And we definitely believe it has a negative effect on spermatogenesis, again, amongst other things.
Right.
So we definitely advise against that. It's not something that would be promoted. And in terms of the dressing, that's probably a bit of a controversial area. I wouldn't say where, it is believed that some of the styles have come from, it's supported prison and other places. But we certainly would advise against that, wear clothes that fit you appropriately.
I hope some of our men are listening, because what I have realized, lots of men may not be responsible, but they like to say they have a youth.
Yes. It's
a big thing.
Yeah.
And so therefore, if you intend to have a youth, start take care of how you take care of that little thing down there,
Absolutely.
And a little warning to you men, we might tell you to help yourself. We don't necessarily like to help ourselves. So we might get somebody to help you help us.
Yes.
So be careful of what you do and how you do it. Right.
That's our word to the wise is sufficient.
Our word to the wise is sufficient. Right.
All right.
Right. So getting back to prostate health now. So you're going to do your testing.
Right.
If you do your testing and the numbers are off,
right,
where do we go next?
All right. So the numbers that we're looking at. So for the PSA tests, it's simple. Any value that's between 0 and 4 is considered to be normal.
Okay.
And most of the labs worldwide use the same units. So anywhere between 0 and 4. If it's above 4, then that's abnormal. You really should consult. You can consult your family doctor. But ideally, you should probably speak to your urologist. Right. But I would say if you speak to your family doctor, the doctor that advise you or direct you in the right direction.
And forward you into the right direction.
Right. So it's a blood test and then a simple examination, which is again another thing that Jamaican men fear.
A lot of things that Jamaican men fear. It's true. Jamaican or otherwise, because we're internationally carried. A little finger and a little test today can save you a whole lot of agony later on.
Absolutely.
So put the little discomfort aside and get it done, you know?
Yeah.
Take your partner with you if it makes you feel comfortable, whatever it is, but get it done. Get it checked out. To know and to act is better than if I did know.
Yeah.
And you know what? 2020 vision, if I did know, is full. You can see in all angles now because you know. So let's do what we need to do to protect and prevent.
Yes.
Okay, so I come in, I get a reading. My numbers are off.
All right.
I do further tests, and it seems like it is of the different types of challenges I might face now when I know my numbers are off for me to deal with. Just before you respond to that, you're listening to Fit FM and you listen to Healing Moments, and we have Dr. Jeremy Thomas in house with us today. He's talking about prostate health. So as usual, you can send your messages in and you will share them with him and he'll respond if you have your messages. It's always nice for you to send the messages in when the person to answer is in-house, instead of sending us a whole bunch of questions after the program. So whatever you think of, send them in. There's no foolish question when you ask. So therefore, we are open for you to call in or send your messages in that you can get the answer. Okay, so doctor, now my partner have come in.
Right.
He has identified with his numbers are off. What are the possible directions that we can find ourselves going into with our numbers off?
Right. So once the number is above 4 and the conversation is had that we don't really have another reason for this number being abnormally high.
Okay.
This usually involves a discussion about doing a biopsy of the prostate, which is really getting tissue from the prostate that's going to be then sent to the lab for testing. So looked at under the microscope by the pathologist, and they will tell us if they're seeing anything that is suggestive of cancer or not.
So a biopsy is do I have to go to sleep to do this surgery for the biopsy? What is it?
So this is actually another point at which we have, unfortunately, a bit of resistance. The biopsy itself is a bit of an uncomfortable procedure, but it's a short procedure.
Okay.
It's similar to the examination in that an ultrasound probe is placed within that same area. That allows us to see the prostate on an ultrasound machine, and we take pieces of tissue. More recently, there is another route by which the biopsy is being done, but that sometimes requires some sedation. It's via the perineum. It's called a trans. But we usually give local anesthetic to the area to numb the discomfort. And it's a short procedure, regardless of the way the biopsy is done. It's usually about, say, 5 minutes. The actual process itself. Previous or your prior build-up, what I would want to hasten to say, just to add to your saying, get tested, is that what I mentioned, even though I mentioned about the whole ejaculation and so on, but the unfortunate thing about prostate cancer is that the risk factors, as I said before, are non-modifiable. So the risk factors that exist in Jamaica is that men of African descent, which probably 90% of our men, it's deemed to be a risk factor. If you have a family member, first degree, so if you have a father, a brother, even an uncle, your risk goes up several times above that of somebody who doesn't have a relative, right? And as you get older, you know, it's a gift, but then also you have to watch out for some of these things as we get older. So if you think about those three things, even if you don't like your family, be related to them, unfortunately, you may still have some of the same genes.
Right.
Even if you bleed, you still have African descent. You're
still black.
Risk, right? And as you get older, you can't do anything about that. Even if you dye your hair. So, you know, and unfortunately, what we found in studies is that up to 50% of our men in Jamaica present when it's late.
That is a challenge.
As opposed to in the first world, where, you know, up to over 90% of men they present when it's early. And it is something that is quite curable if you catch it very early.
Yes. And so that is one of the things why I keep on saying to our women these days, we must become proactive in the health of our men, our boyfriends, our children, our boys, all of our men. We have to become proactive, become fast in our business, as it were, you know, talk to them about their sexuality, talk, you know, let them, you know, understand that they need to go in, they need to get tested. And if you need to hold them hand and walk them in there. Yes, you need to ask, when last have you gotten your prostate tested? Right. Because sometimes they will go, but they don't want to tell you, because they still feel a little uncomfortable about the whole idea. So you have to get to know your partner. You have to talk with your partner, and you have to just get it over and done with. Just like as a woman, you're going to go and check to make sure everything working right, your plumbing working good. You want to make sure the man plumbing and work good too.
Absolutely.
Because at the end of the day, whether we want to accept it or not, we want them to be okay.
Oh, absolutely.
We want them to be okay. Even if you tell him, don't touch me, you're still a look over to make sure say him alive, him kicking and him shaking, and him going to work in the morning. Because if it goes to work in the morning, cash coming in month-end or weekend or fortnightly, whatever it is. So whatever the reason why you want this man to stay healthy and alive, you need to do it. It's true. It's true. Whatever the reason, if it's for take care of the kids, because some of us, we are so pretentious. We don't need him. We can do without him. And, you know, you show off yourself. So whatever the reason is, women, the health of your man is also your responsibility. If your boy picking it on 30 and he not have no woman, as him say, you need to fast enough for him business too. And that's where another thing in Jamaica is concerned. Parents are afraid to talk to their children about anything sex related and any part of their body that below them waist. Everybody becomes uncomfortable. Unfortunately, my mom never got that memo. So she did fast in the all our business until the day she died. And so parents need to get involved in their young people's lives too, because sometimes the lifestyle that the young men adopts influences their end product as well. So as you had mentioned before, you know, the exercise, the lifestyle. Okay, so now you have done your biopsy and you get a positive result to say that something is not going on right.
Yes.
So this is what the positive is meaning now. Not that it is a good positive, but positive in the fact that things are negative. What are the males of?
Right. So your options. So the
Mhm.
next step would be staging the disease. And what I
Mhm.
mean by staging is checking where it has spread to or where it hasn't
Mhm.
spread to, hopefully.
Okay. Mhm.
So what we do is some additional tests. So it
Mhm.
usually involves something like an MRI, which is a
Mhm.
very fancy test, magnetic resonance imaging. That is to show if it has spread just outside of the prostate, down in
Mhm.
where the pelvis, where the prostate is.
Right.
And we also complement that with a bone scan, which is one of the first places prostate cancer can spread to.
Mhm.
Once we do those additional studies, then that will tell us whether or not we have what is called organ confined disease, which means the cancer is just confined to the prostate,
Mhm.
or if it is just outside of the prostate, where we call it locally advanced disease, or if it has spread elsewhere in the body, where we call it metastatic disease.
Okay.
And that has implications, of course, for how the disease will be treated.
Treated.
Right.
Okay. So I was talking to a gentleman on Monday when I went in for my treatment, and he was saying to me he was having severe pains in because he's saying now the tumor is resting on the bone but not in the bone. Based on how the doctor explained it to him. So it's on the bone but not in the bone,
Right.
but it is same place there in the lower area there. He's having those kinds of pain.
Right.
Is that normal for prostates?
So unfortunately, one of the, as in the commonest place that prostate cancer actually spreads, or one of the first places it spreads to invariably, is the bone, and that of the spinal bones.
Mhm.
And what can actually happen, and what he may be referring to, is where it's compressing on the spinal cord.
Okay.
So unfortunately, we actually see quite a few unfortunate presentations of prostate cancer, whereas where a fit, healthy man suddenly loses function of his lower limb. So he's unable to walk.
Oh,
He gets weak
okay.
rapidly. And then when the investigations are done, it is suggestive of some sort of malignant or cancerous disease. And then when we do our checks, it's actually coming from prostate. So that could actually be what he's referring to. It may actually be in the bone and it's compressing the spinal cord, or it actually could be, disease that is just adjacent to the bone. But usually when you start to have pain within the bone, once it has spread to the bone.
Okay. Very interesting that you should say lose suddenly life to the lower limb.
Right.
So another gentleman was saying to me, I saw him, he was in a wheelchair and all of that, and he was looking very nice, strong and healthy, as someone I know. But he said he was on the ground playing with his daughter. She came in, and because he likes to spread out that he can play with her. But he was feeling some discomfort sometime before, but he had not paid much attention to it. But then he found out while he was playing with his daughter, he wanted to, sudden urge to go and empty his bladder.
Yeah.
And he realized he could not get up.
Yeah.
He realized he could not get up.
It is as unfortunate as that. Yeah. We've seen those presentations and we get those stories from time to time.
And so it was just Monday, he was telling me that
life just comes at you fast.
Suddenly, he said it just hit me that I can't get up and I had to call for help to just somebody to help me. And by the time I could get that help, I went myself before my daughter.
Right.
And for him, that was the worst.
Humiliating. Yeah.
It was pretty humiliating. And then now he's doing the tests and all of that to find out what is happening.
Right.
But I never ever thought that could be the real answer.
Yes, it actually could be. So a number of things could have caused that. But yeah, prostate cancer has had presentations like that. And we see it far too often, even though it is not, the most common way that prostate cancer presents.
But because he said to me, he have been feeling discomfort in that area for quite some time, but he kept on ignoring it. Said one of the time he was not urinating so fluently. He just, ignored it. And, I said to him, did you tell your partner you were going through all of this? I just told her that I'm not interested in sex these last days. So that's another thing. Yeah. Men are not feeling well. They find stories. He said at one time he even pretended that he had a woman outside satisfying his needs. So when he come home and tired, she does cuss and and it is that. And then he felt comfortable until suddenly he couldn't get up.
Yeah. So the thing about it, and you brought out a lot of good points there. The thing about prostate cancer, and this is why we stress on screening beginning at age 40, is that the early signs and symptoms of prostate cancer are actually none. There's absolutely
Right.
no signs. So you feel fit as a fiddle.
Mhm.
And it's only when we do that blood test or the examination that we see that things are off. The second thing about it is that unfortunately, what you're telling me about, when you present at that point in time,
Mhm.
that's when it's a very advanced disease.
Wow.
Because this is when it has now spread beyond the prostate, it's found its way out, and it's
Mhm.
now doing bad things. And so, even though I'll tell you that there is the good story with prostate cancer is that you have treatments for it at every stage.
Mhm.
We can't necessarily cure somebody like that, but we
Yes.
can
Make
we
him-
can control it and in some cases reverse it to a certain extent. But we don't want to be doing that. We'd rather be
Yeah.
curing him, and so that you can, as you mentioned, he was playing with his daughter.
Mhm.
He wants to be able to grow up and watch his daughter. He wants to be able to
Yes.
walk his daughter probably down the aisle one day,
Yes.
if that's her desire.
Mhm.
Not from a wheelchair, not obviously having passed before he's seen a lot of
Right.
milestones with her. So that brought out quite a few things to me that
Yes.
it's
And
important
and
that
I hope
yeah.
my listeners
Yeah.
we will be getting Dr. Jeremy back again because
No problem.
he came late today.
Sure.
But
My
I know
apologies.
we have not. No, it's all right. It
All
happens to the
Yes,
best of
yes,
us.
yes.
But I really want to use this point because I never even thought of this happening so overnight, as it
Yes,
were,
yes.
as it happened for my friend.
Mhm.
And when I saw him on Monday, I was shocked. He was in wheelchair. And
Yep.
the last time I saw him, this man driving him car and all of that. And so, it's so suddenly his life was altered
Yeah.
or is being altered at the moment.
Mhm.
And all indication based on what he's saying, preliminaries and all of that,
Mhm.
is suggesting that he has prostate cancer.
Yeah.
And it is far advanced.
Mhm.
And I'm telling you, he still looks like, I don't know his age, but he still looks good.
Yeah.
Strong, look healthy, even in the wheelchair.
Mhm.
So a possibility exists now for someone like this that he may live a little longer than normal,
Right.
but confined and
Correct.
loss of
Quality of life.
that quality
and
of life is
everything.
completely
And
gone.
to adjust to that so suddenly,
Mhm.
it's always a
Mental
difficult thing.
impact as
Right,
well.
Right.
And so we don't have a lot of time left,
Mhm.
Doc. We have 5 minutes.
Sure.
I'm going to give you 3 of those to just
Alright.
talk to the men,
Sure.
talk to our men.
All right. So what I'd like to say is, I really applaud and appreciate the invitation here.
Yes.
Very important thing that you're doing, and I'm hoping that Jamaica is really listening to
I
the message
hope.
that you're trying to get out.
Yes.
I heard a part of your very touching
Mhm.
story with breast cancer, and what I would want to say, as much as I know a lot is done for the month of October in terms of breast cancer, I want you to point out to our men that prostate cancer is actually more common than breast cancer. It is the commonest,
Stick a pin.
believe it or not.
Is that so? I'm going to tell you, I have a photo I started and
Mhm.
I named it Love is of breast cancer. A gentleman said to me, no, you need to make it more open. Your approaching is, so I cannot change the word that I could include. And the main purpose is I want to include prostate cancer in the process of the story. But now I'm hearing this from you. I didn't even think of that.
Right.
Because as far as I'm concerned, breast cancer is the most common form of cancer in the world.
Correct. Well, it's the most spoken about, and
Mm.
it has earned its place, and it's good. That's
Yes.
what we want.
Yes.
But prostate cancer is not spoken about enough.
I am an
And,
advocate as of
right.
today.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, for example, the figures will show you on let me summarize it and not get carried away.
Yes.
Speak for hours and hours on this. For example, there's a global observatory body, and at any single year in Jamaica, you have probably over 1,500 men living with prostate cancer, right?
Mm.
Over 800 are diagnosed every year, as opposed to probably say 600-700 for breast cancer, right?
Look at-
And in terms of deaths,
Mhm.
prostate cancer is still the commonest cause of deaths amongst both sexes, right? So even when you put women,
Breast cancer and
breast
everything.
cancer and other cancers, so it is a significant.
As
health
of today,
burden.
you and I are best friends.
No problem.
Because we're going to follow this through.
Sure.
Fit FM Healing Moments, we are now advocates for prostate cancer as well. Because to be honest, we need our men.
Yes.
We can't survive
Exactly.
without our
Yeah,
men.
Yeah.
They are breadwinners, they are our lovers, they are our friends, they are our war partners. Whatever you want, we don't, and that is the truth. We don't like them sometimes, but we love them all the time. Because there's a difference,
Yes.
There's a difference. And to be honest, to do the mambo and all of these
Right.
things, we need partners to do them with.
Yes.
and it's better with partners. Yeah, you know, we can help ourselves and all of that.
Quick
But
thing I was sticking right there, I must applaud a woman too, because I can tell you a lot of the men who come for prostate cancer screening are brought in by their partners.
yes,
See that loving wife, a girlfriend, a sister, a mother,
or a nagging
leave
woman.
it or not, and not
Nagging
woman somewhere. They don't look too happy, but then they're happy at the end of it when you have that discussion.
Yes, when you have that partnership,
and,
and
there's a
it's-
bit of relief
yeah.
after that,
And to be honest, what I
So
have
keep it up.
I've come to realize is that a lot of our breast cancer organizations, because even my friend Yvonne Dunkley, they had their thing in Montego Bay today, and they're always adding prostate cancer to the story now, and I'm going to be adding it to mine as well as we continue to do our thing. Doc,
Sure.
the time is short,
No problem.
but we will do this again, and now you know the length and the time the journey will
Yes,
take.
I'll be here on
we,
time.
we will do our rescheduling because, to be honest,
Right.
this is just a tip of the iceberg, and I have learned so much in a short time
Right.
that we need to flesh out a little bit more and air out a little bit more. So my listeners, this is not the end of Dr. Jeremy. We now have a new best friend at Fit FM 96.7. Prostate that he'll be looking at. So we look at the other functions of a urologist as well, because these things are important for us to know. And you know, at Healing Moments, we want you to know. We like for you to take care of your physical health, your emotional health, your mental health, and your sexual health is just as important to us as well. And I did promise you guys that later down in the year, and the year is coming down to an end, we're going to talk a little bit more about sexual health. And so urologist is very important to that conversation as well for both men and women. And as everybody know, I like to talk about sex. It's very important because it's one of the main stress busters that we know around here.
Essential part of life.
Yes, it's natural.
Something
So therefore, we're gonna leave you this evening with one thing to remember: take care of your mental health and your emotional health. Everything else will fall into place. Stress fixes nothing, so do not even try it. Anything you can do to protect your mental health is worth it, other than making somebody else uncomfortable. You're listening to Healing Moments on Fit FM 96.7, your life, your music. I am your host, Dr. Asha Moendo, and my guest this evening was Jeremy Thomas. See you next time around the bend. Walk good.
lovely.